This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is celebrating its 30th anniversary. It's not just celebrating Christmas, it's celebrating Garbage Day as well. And I have the film's director, Lee Harry, on the phone with me today. How do you do, Lee? Lee.
I'm fine. Happy holidays and happy garbage day to you and yours.
Yes. I understand you were avoiding the fires. Is everything starting to cool down there, or are they still fighting them?
They are still fighting the fires up north of us, but it came through town here, and we were evacuated for a brief period of time. And but we were lucky. Many others lost their homes, and it was pretty crazy. It's still smoky here when you get up in the morning. There's just a haze of smoke over the whole town, and waiting for a stiff breeze to come and blow that away.
You know, it's interesting because here where I am in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, like we got a snowfall down here right now, and our winters can be quite intense here. But I've never been to California, so I guess that you guys have problems with fires there quite often, isn't that right?
Well, we do, because we haven't had any sizable rain here in about 10 months. So you've got a lot of dead brush and just overall dry conditions. And when sparks start to fly, things just go up in a hurry. And when the Santa Ana winds are combined with that, you've just got fire rolling through these hills. It's pretty scary.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen some video. I've done a few interviews, people that have been on standby evacuation and whatnot. So I'm hearing all about this. I've seen some video from it. It looks like something out of one of these disaster movies, these big budget disaster movies.
Absolutely. It's apocalyptic. I mean, we were awoken. Our neighbor was pounding on our door at 11 o'clock last Monday night, a week from Monday, and we opened the door, and there she is, framed by flames in the background coming over the hills, and you just go, oh my God. I mean, you have 10 minutes, grab what you can, go. And what do you do? What do you take? And you grab paperwork. I grabbed hard drives and change of clothes, the dogs. I mean, it's some water. It's crazy, and it just happens so fast.
But your house made out okay, huh?
Yes, we did.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're fine, and we're lucky to be fine. Believe me.
Well, I'm glad everything turned out okay for you.
Thank you.
It's really sad that stuff like that happens and you have no control over it, you know?
That's the worst, when you're sitting at the bottom of the hill and you're looking up. Us and a bunch of our neighbors were down at the local high school parking lot looking up at our houses, wondering, are the flames getting that close? Is that an optical illusion? Is it really coming over the hill there? And we, 2 streets above us, just gone. So we were very lucky.
Oh, wow. Well, I was wondering, if we could get a little bit of your background and where you were brought up, and how you come to want to be a filmmaker.
Well, I was born in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Northern Virginia, Arlington. And I just, like a lot of other, kids back then, we were into making 8mm movies. And I started, I caught a Ray Harryhausen film. I think it was Earth versus the Flying Saucers was the first one of his films that I saw, and I was fascinated and started doing my own little stop motion movies. And I was able to use them for projects at school for biology class. I would do, cells, single frame animation of clay being cells and dividing and things like that. And I was able to get some decent grades that way, much more decent than I would have if I had taken the test, the written test. So started doing that. Got into high school, and they needed someone to film the football games on Friday nights. I had a brand new Super 8 camera, so I was able to do that on Friday nights. Then I took the camera home for the weekend and started making, slightly more sophisticated films, with a narrative, and got my friends involved. And so when it was time to go to college, my parents were very supportive of this, by the way. My dad was a big film buff and took all the home movies of our family. But I started looking at colleges, and I found this place, University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, which had a small film program, but it was closer to Arlington than California. I didn't quite feel ready to move all the way to California. So I went to Bridgeport, and great film program. I don't think it's around anymore, their film program. But Filmmaking 101 was, here's a Bolex camera and 100 feet of 16 millimeter film, go shoot something. And that to me was just, wow, this is great. I don't have to, we had our theory classes, Hitchcock, film of the 70s, Western, silent films, foreign films. But to be able to be handed a camera and just go do it, that was the best learning experience. And so I made some films in college. One of my films won the Student Academy Award. So I was flown out to California. I came out here with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and we stayed. And that's kind of how that started.
It's interesting you bring up Ray Harryhausen. I've done, so far, 2 tribute interviews on Ray Harryhausen. If somebody's passed away, I'll have somebody come on and talk about them. And I had somebody from the Ray Harryhausen Foundation come on my podcast here twice. And
wow.
Last year, we celebrated the 35th anniversary of one of my favorite movies of all time, which was the original Clash of the Titans. I love that film to this day.
Yes, indeed. Harry Hamlin.
Yeah, I love it, and they come on, and then they come on, the same guy come on again this year, somebody that worked with Ray, and I may have him on every year, They love doing my show and celebrating Ray's work, and we both agreed that the Clash of the Titans remake was horrible. And they even put me in touch with Caroline Munro from The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, which I thought was a beautiful added bonus,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you mentioned Hitchcock. I've had Hitchcock's granddaughter on here, too, in tribute to him, so that was a pretty amazing experience for me.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, that was my, I knew about Hitchcock, of course, but going to school where we had prints, 16 millimeter prints of his movies for the class, and you could sit down. We had flatbed moviolas, which, some people might remember is what you would use to edit a film back when it was film. You had upright moviolas that looked like those R2-D2 kind of machines you would sit in front of. Then you had flatbed moviolas, which was a table editing machine. And you could go through it frame by frame and look at the shower scene from Psycho frame by frame and, Frenzy frame by frame. And, talk about a great learning tool and opportunity.
Psycho was the first film I seen at a midnight screening, And you mentioned Frenzy. That came out the year I was born.
Well, Psycho, that's a heck of a movie to see at midnight.
Oh, yeah. That and Clockwork Orange. I saw both of those the same year at midnight. And I love the midnight audience. I just find they get so more involved with the films than just a regular going audience. I find these are the people that they engage in the film viewing experience in the film.
Oh, sure. Well, if you're at a midnight show, that's a commitment. So you better be engaged. That's great.
Yeah. Well, we are celebrating, of course, the 30th anniversary of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. And I gotta say, with my first interview was with Tommy Wiseau from The Room back 2 years ago. And, of course, The Disaster Artist is out now based on the making of that film. And it's funny because there are movies out there that are really bad, like Dealy and Pearl Harbor and stuff that's just unwatchable garbage. And then you get films like The Room that, if Tommy Wiseau goes to a convention, people line up for long lines just to meet him. And it's strange when a movie gets labeled as bad, but yet it's endearing. Showgirls falls under that. And I think the reputation of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. That gets labeled as a bad film, but yet people love it. You must have seen some of the internet stuff on YouTube. People just having fun with your movie.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of creativity on the internet as far as Garbage Day and all of that stuff. Well, it's, back then, 87, 86, 87, I'm sure you've read the stories. It was an editing exercise for us. We were hired to re-edit the original Silent Night, Deadly Night into a different movie. So the people who owned it could make some money on it, since the first release was closed down. Theater owners were mad, parents were mad, everybody was mad. So when all of this happened, it was just a bad movie back then. It was a quickie movie. It was a movie that was supposed to be, I don't know, how do I put this? We were just trying to put a different face on a movie that had been rejected by the public, basically. And we thought, well, this is a good chance to, expand upon the story, have some fun with a camera crew, and a dolly, and blow some stuff up, and, have squibs and guns. And, we were just looking to have some fun with that. And the fact that after all these years, it's become something of a infamous cult thing is totally surprising to me.
I sitting down with my brother at the computer, and like I said, I love this movie. They had on there, like, one of my favorites videos I've seen was they took the Happy Days theme. Like Monday, Tuesday, instead of Happy Days, you got Eric Freeman going, Garbage Day. It's one of my favorite ones. Have you seen that one?
I have not seen that one.
Oh, it's hysterical. And they show clips of other movies, too. But the main thing is, like, Monday, Tuesday, Garbage Day. Wednesday, Thursday, Garbage Day.
Well, that's great.
And I watched it several times, and I'm like, it's just, and like I said, movies like Dealy and Pearl Harbor, they just deserve to be burned because they're just bad, they're unwatchable. But then you get a movie like, The Room or Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and people have fun with them. And I'm pretty sure, there's filmmakers out there that could take that the wrong way. But you seem to have a very good attitude about this.
Well, recently, I would say, when the movie came out, it was just panned. It was just a bad movie that nobody liked. So most of us who worked on it just kind of put our heads down and moved on. And since there was no internet and no chatter back then, we just tried to forget about it. And it wasn't until, the memes started being popular and garbage day things started popping up. Facebook, the Finding Freeman Facebook page. But,
oh, there's a Facebook page on that?
Oh, Finding Freeman, yeah, absolutely.
Holy cow. Yeah. Well, you know what? God bless you for making this movie because, it's brought my brother and I hours of entertainment, and we like I said, I can't watch Dealy again, but I can definitely watch this, and sometimes it's like the Disaster Artist was talking about with Tommy Wiseau. The Room didn't turn out the way he expected, but look at what he's doing with The Room now. It's like the movie's actually now making money for reasons that he wasn't prepared for.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I went to a screening of Silent Night in Chicago a couple of months ago, and it was with a younger crowd, and they don't know the story of, the horrible making of this movie and the reputation it has. They were just in a horror movie club and were watching a horror movie from the 80s. And they laughed, they cheered at the deaths. I mean, I was sitting in the corner and I was amazed. They were just watching it as they would watch any other movie and enjoying it. So that's the reaction I wish we had 30 years ago, but at least we're having it now. So I can be happy about that.
Well, you know what? Better late than never, because it's like, thanks to social media. Like when I graduated from high school, we didn't have, this technology we have now. It's interesting because, it's given a lot of films a whole new life. And it's, 30 years ago, you probably did not see this coming.
No, certainly did not. We wanted to put this in our rearview mirror as quickly as we could. And, Eric was, I think, mortified by his performance, and those are his words, not mine. And he disappeared off the face of the earth for years. And as I said, it wasn't until the Finding Freeman Facebook page popped up and people were saying, what happened to this guy? Look at this clip. Look at his eyebrows. Look at this performance. I mean, where is this guy? We want to find this guy. And he finally popped up. And he popped up at a screening of Silent Night a couple of Christmases ago that I went to. And he walked in, and I couldn't believe it. We hadn't seen each other for 25, almost 30 years.
I think Eric Freeman, just like with Tommy Wiseau, I really hope that he'll be able to embrace this, because I guarantee you, if he went to one of these horror film conventions, I guarantee you people would line up to get his autograph and take pictures with him. It'd be a good way for him to make extra change. I guarantee you people want to meet him.
Well, I believe he has, actually. And it's funny you say embrace, because for years my wife was saying, why don't you embrace this, especially when it started to pop up on social media. She said, come on, it's not even on my resume. I mean, I have a poster of it hanging in my bathroom, but I don't make a big deal about it. And it was younger editors that I've worked with have come up to me and said, are you Lee Harry? Did you direct Silent Night? Yes, I did. Oh my God, I watched that when I was a kid. It changed my life. Really? It changed my life too. It made me want to pick another profession.
Well, you know what? I gotta say this. I appreciate the fact you made it, and that it's like I said, people aren't really shitting on your film. People are having fun with your film, and that's gonna bring you some joy right now.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it took me a long time to realize that, they were laughing at the film years ago, believe me. And I think they're more laughing with it now, and that's fine with me. Entertainment is entertainment. And it's funny, you mentioned Dealy a few times, and I worked on that movie.
Oh, my apologies. I gave Dealy a 0.
Well, I worked on that film for I don't know, I want to say 4 months. We were trying to cut a trailer for it that made it look like it was worth seeing, and it was. I don't hate the movie. I try to find, whenever we would cut a trailer on something, I would try to find something to like about the movie. You have to, because you need to sell it to people, and if you can find something you like, then you can translate that into, I don't know, an attitude you put into the marketing, and hopefully get people to go see it. But I didn't hate that movie, I have to say. I've worked on movies that I've hated much more than Dealy.
Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor was in the shop. I did not work on that. That was another friend of mine who worked on that. But, I don't know. Street Fighter, that was painful. Two If by Sea was painful. Starship Troopers was only painful because I had to deal with the director. But I've, cut a lot of trailers, and I've watched a lot of bad movies, and Dealy's not at the top of that list. I'll just say that, and we can move on.
Actually, I joined the Golden Raspberry Awards in 2003, and I got to help Dealy win Worst Picture. I voted for it and it won.
Wow. Well, there you go.
But I gotta say, I do like Silent Night, Deadly Night too, and some of these Hollywood actors, you can take them or leave them, but I definitely love to see Eric Freeman pop up in a movie again, just like with Tommy Wiseau. He's a character on his own. He's made, maybe this wasn't what he intended, but it's like, guarantee if he showed up conventions, people would want to meet him. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Well, he wrote a sequel to the sequel that he's been, showing around town. Eric did, and I read it, and it's a lot of fun. It's really violent. Ricky Caldwell, is out again and causing trouble, and I think the body count is huge in this script, and I hope he gets to do something with it. And he's got a pretty big web presence now. He's selling merchandise for Silent Night, and I think he's been going to some of these conventions.
So why don't you direct it?
Well, somebody come up with the money for it, and I'll be happy to talk about it.
You could call it Silent Night, Deadly Night, Garbage Day.
Yes, well, we could go out there and shoot it with a iPhone these days. So,
well, you know what? We gotta take a step back and look at the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, because I know the Killer Santa in that was just at Horror Hound in Columbus, Ohio, and he was at that convention. I was not there for that, but I know he was on the list. Now, I know that the original film was quite controversial when that came out. Killer Santa. I mean, yeah, parents were kind of outraged when that came out in 1984.
Yeah.
Had you seen it when it originally came out?
No, I had not. I've always been pretty squeamish as far as horror movies, and I was more into science fiction and the stop motion monster kind of thing. And when that movie came in and we sat down to watch it, I was pretty horrified. Just I don't like seeing the heads coming off and the throats being cut, and it's just the first movie. It's a very mean movie. I mean, it just has a mean streak, killing off the family and just these kids witnessing this stuff. It's just, I thought it was pretty gnarly and nasty.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I have seen it, and I agree. It's kind of hard to watch. And, of course, that came out the year that PG-13 came into frame, too, because that was when, of course, Gremlins and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, got hit with the PG-13 because rating boards didn't know couldn't just put a PG on that, so. And of course, Silent Night, Deadly Night didn't get a PG-13. I got an R.
Oh yeah, that was a hard R. Well, when we recut it and used it in the sequel, I cut around a lot of the violence. I mean, we had it in there, but I cut around it because it was a personal choice to cut around it. Plus, even then, when we submitted it for a rating, the MPAA gave us an X rating on Silent Night Part 2 because so many people, get killed in it. So we had to go back and trim even more of the violence, and I'm talking frames. So that's what you have to do to get the rating you want, is just start trimming frames and resubmit it, trim more frames and resubmit it. And either they get tired of looking at it and finally give you a R rating or PG-13, or, they send it back to you back to the drawing board.
Yeah, of course, in the movie, Ricky Coswell is reflecting on everything, and of course, people are saying, "How would he remember all of these things?" But you're playing a lot of clips from. I heard it joked online that like the first, I don't know what. So many minutes of the movie, a large amount is just the original movie in flashbacks. Whose idea was that to incorporate that?
Well, that was the assignment when the first film came out and was, people just didn't want their kids seeing that. The PTA in many cities picketed it, so TriStar just shut it down. And it was purchased by another producer who was friends of my boss. I worked at a post house, and we cut commercials and trailers and sound editing, things like that. So it was a job. It came in, and the assignment was to recut this movie and make it look like another movie, make it look like a sequel. And after watching it and talking about it, we said, well, how about we use some of it, and some of this money you're paying for it, why don't we shoot some new scenes with it? And that's what we did. But the assignment was always to use as much of the first movie as we could, the thought being that no one had seen it, so we could use as much of it. Now, of course, people, if they watch a marathon, if they watch the first one and then immediately watch our movie, it's like watching the first one all over again. But that's what we were asked to do.
Yeah, but the first one doesn't have Eric Freeman in it. And I'm going to tell you, what a find. How did you come across him?
We had casting. We put ads in the actors' papers out here. We had a regular couple of days of casting, and Eric was not my original choice. I liked Eric, very nice guy, but there was another actor who'd been in a lot of low-budget pictures named David Hebner.
Okay.
And I liked David because he was really intense and creepy, and we thought he was more of what this kid would have grown up to be, a really messed up, just this side of a serial killer type of person, and who would say this dialogue that we had. My co-writer Joe Earl and I, we were really big Stephen King fans, and we loved, Stephen King's villains, who always had just the greatest sides and just the funny stuff they would say, grimly funny stuff they'd say before they'd, kill somebody. And we wanted someone who could handle that kind of dialogue. And I liked David, and my boss, the producer of the film, Lawrence Applebaum, liked Eric. He liked him because he had those good looks. He was a, buff guy, a nice smile, and he thought that was even creepier. So, okay, this was a job for us. So fine. I liked Eric, and we didn't have any rehearsal. We started shooting, I think, a week after casting. We crewed up, started shooting, and the first stuff we shot was Eric in that hospital room talking to the doctor. So we did that over a couple of days, and that's where he started to put this character together.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 would look like without him today.
Yeah, I don't either. It would have, I don't know, it might have just been less less infamous back then. Probably it might have been a little bit more. I don't want to say acceptable, just of the norm. A normal kind of B, C, B or C movie, horror movie. I don't know, but Eric definitely brought something special to it.
That term garbage day. Now, I wonder when that became the go-to scene in the movie. Like I'm pretty sure when you guys filmed it, it was just a day on the set. But I wonder why that scene of all is what stands out, where he goes garbage day. There's even like hip hop videos with him saying that. It. It's such a line, and the way he delivers it. I wonder, like, when that became the go-to moment.
I I have no idea. That line was always in the script. It was just part of his, rampage in that neighborhood. And it's the way he said it and his performance and the fact that there's this poor guy who's taking out his trash and ends up on the other end of this this crazy dialogue and a bullet. I mean, I really don't know. It was early in social media when I came upon that on the internet, and I was floored, and now it has, I don't know how many millions of views on YouTube. It's unbelievable to me.
Do you remember where you remember the time when you first came across this following? Do you remember because it must have been quiet for the longest time until the internet? But you remember what it was like where you was when you first discovered that this thing's catching on?
I don't know. It must have been. I had to have been at work because I was always at work, just surfing the internet one day, and I think maybe when IMDb started to become popular and people were putting their credits in there, and I probably just Googled or whatever it was back then, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and there came Garbage Day, and clicked on that, and there it was. I mean, I've just Googled Garbage Day, and I can't tell you how many little, thumbnail of videos here. Eric with a hat, some guy dressed up. I mean, all these people who have done parodies of it. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Well, huh?
No, I was going to say, so I don't know. It's has to have been 15 years ago, right? When this first started. I mean, I wonder if I could go back and trace when the first posting of that Garbage Day was.
Now, Eric Freeman, did you say that he took him a while to embrace this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you've got to remember the reviews were just, ruthless and awful. And can't believe they made the first one, much less this piece of garbage second one. And, they were pretty nasty to me and especially to Eric. And he was an actor who showed up for a job, and it just became infamous.
Yeah, well, he, of course, a big part of this movie. What was it like working with him on the film?
Oh, he was just a sweetheart, a real nice guy, always on time, knew his lines. I mean, remember, we didn't have any money really to do this in a very short amount of time, so the producer was always just right behind me, move on, move on, move on. So we'd get a couple of takes of each shot, and it was a pretty rigorous shoot because we wanted, I mean, being an editor, I wanted as many setups as I could get, as many angles. So, okay, put the camera over here. Now let's have it over here. Now let's have it up here, have it down there. And we just do one take of this, two takes of that, one take of this. And each time you do that, it would be, okay, Eric, do it seriously. Okay, do it your way. And then you'd move on. So I always like to give the actor a chance to do it his way. And Joe, my co-writer and co-director, really, I mean, he dealt more with the actors than I did because I was dealing with setups in the camera. And he would, I don't want to say egg on Eric, but he would say, give it a little more. How would you like to do it? Be a little crazier. And after a while, Eric found this character of this just out there garbage day yelling maniac.
It's interesting because he lets the little girl on the tricycle live. I think that's the one that escaped it. He lets her live. And I know it's easy to say, well, you're not going to kill a little girl or a pet or anything. But what was the decision on that?
The little girl was always in the script. There was a dog too that we ended up not shooting, and actually Eric, the character, was supposed to shoot the dog as well. We were just going for it, and I'm certainly glad we didn't do that. Somebody asked me the other day about, he spares the little girl, but what kind of parents would let their little girl go out there on a tricycle when there's gunshots in the neighborhood? I mean, it's taken on a much darker type of connotation these days. We thought with horror movies, it's always a monster, but what if it was a monster going through a suburban neighborhood doing something like this? And that was horror to us. And, little did we know what would happen. So that's unintended consequence.
And a lot of people cite the scene where he fires at the car and it flips over.
Yeah. Again, it was getting dark. We were losing the light. We had no room for coverage or to try anything else. It was, okay, drive the car towards the camera. And our stuntman was missed by 1 inch with that car. Our stuntman, by the way, was the second unit director on the Avengers movie.
Okay.
Oddly enough. So he's come a long way. Spiro Rizatos. He's a very talented guy and did all the stunts in that movie.
Yeah. So another person I want to bring up too is Elizabeth Caton, because she, of course, plays the love interest, and of course she went on the following year to be in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the experience like with her?
Well, oddly enough, she was friends with Lawrence Applebaum. She had Larry used to work with Charles Band, and I think she was in a Charles Band movie, and she used to hang around the office. Just came in, we'd all have lunch together and go out and have drinks. Just a nice girl that was a friend of ours, and when this all happened, we said she's got to be in this movie. She just has to. She's talented and gorgeous young lady, and we wrote it for her. And she was great. Very, very game. Had a great time. Very professional.
Did she have fun doing her death scene?
Yes. Yeah, she had fun with that. Again, very game. I think everybody was wondering. By that time, that was late in the shoot, and we were kind of turning it into a Warner Brothers cartoon at that point. So she got it, And yeah, she was a lot of fun and understood what we were going for.
Everybody too laughs at the ex-boyfriend. People say he looked like Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Chip, yuck. Yeah, he pops up on the Finding Freeman website as well.
Oh, he went missing as well?
No, he just he went into the military and popped up just as a "Hey, how you guys doing?" type of thing on Finding Freeman. Yeah.
I forget the name of the actor. Who was he now?
Oh, Chip was. Oh, let me think. I have the credits here. The typed up credits that I typed up and gave to the optical house. Who was it? Daryl, Kern, Michael, Kenneth Brian James.
Oh, okay. Well, one scene that does stand out is when they go to the movie theater, and I find it funny because they're watching Silent Night, Deadly Night. So it's like he's watching a movie of the movie he was narrating about when he was in the psychiatrist's office. Whose decision was it to use Silent Night, Deadly Night for the movie they were watching?
It was us. I mean, again, that was always in the script, and I don't think we even knew what the term meta meant back then. It just, we thought it was funny and just out of the blue, and did it. Plus, that's the only movie we had permission to use. So we thought, okay, we could use some other scenes and try to make it look like something else, but at some point we just said, you know what, they're watching the movie that we're making fun of. So.
Well, everybody can relate to somebody heckling them at the theater, and of course, that turned into a pretty funny moment too, especially with the legs kicking up in the air.
Yes, that was fun to shoot. That's me that he's talking to in the back row.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the heckler is turning and whispering to the guy sitting next to him with the mustache. That's me.
Oh, the guy with the mustache, that's you.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of disappear at the front. Now, did he kill you as well?
Oh, you got to figure he just yanked me out of the way. He wasn't mad at me.
Okay. Oh, wow, I did not know that was you.
Yeah. You can tell that when Eric, we do that pan back and forth, hands to me, then back to, what was that guy's name? It was Randy Post. Yeah. Oh, and actually Chip was Kenneth McCabe. That's who played Chip.
Okay.
So anyway, we'd pan back and forth, and then when it pans to Eric Freeman, he says, "Naughty." He's cracking up, just about to lose it. So that was fun to shoot. We shot that in a little screening room in Hollywood.
And of course, another big scene, of course, is the umbrella scene.
My favorite scene.
What a creative kill! How did you come up with that?
I was just tossing ideas around to each other, and we were looking for a scene where we could have a rain machine, because when we had this budget, we were starting to put things together, and can we afford a dolly? Yes, we can. Can we afford squibs and guns? Yes, we can. How about a rain machine? Yes. Okay. What can we do with that? And it went from there. And of course, wanting to have a red umbrella and all of that. That was one of the scenes I had to trim to get an R rating, because there used to be a shot where the umbrella came right through him at camera and stopped an inch from camera with a piece of intestine hanging on it. And I had to take that out.
Now, what would you say was the most difficult scenes to shoot in this movie?
Probably the Mother Superior stuff, just because it was an all-night shoot. And when he's running around the house and she's wheeling around the house. That was 3:00 in the morning, and we had been up all night, and the people who lived in the house were downstairs listening to us make all this noise and knock furniture over, and we had put breakaway doors on their door frames, and that's what we were smashing. But at the same time, that was tough. That was tough to do. It was our last day of shooting, and we had to get everything we needed in. And we pretty much shot that whole last 20 minutes of the movie in one night. And that probably explains a lot of the logic problems we have with it. But yeah, I would say that was bad. That was tough to do. The stuff around the neighborhood, that was a great day. We had a steady cam. The hardest thing was the car, and that's because it was at the end of the day, as I said, we were losing the light, and we had one take. And yeah, so we had our good days and our bad days.
The cop wasn't very bright, though.
The rent-a-cop? No. That's another one. Boy. Yeah.
Now, out of the special effects, which was the most interesting one to pull off?
Well,
would you say it's the umbrella?
I would say the umbrella.
Okay.
I would say the umbrella just because there was so much involved with that, with the rain and the blood and getting the umbrella to open. And yeah, that was a night shoot, middle of the night. And poor Frank Novak, who was the loan shark, he did not like lying on the wet pavement as we had a couple takes of the rain hitting him.
Oh.
But it was a chilly evening.
I wonder what he thinks of it now.
I wonder. He was in the next movie I did, Street Soldiers, and he was great, and I see him pop up on TV from time to time.
Okay. Well, Eric Freeman, what's he doing nowadays?
Now he makes guitars.
Okay.
He's a great guitar player. If you Google him and find him, you won't believe some of the stuff he can play on the guitar. Some of his, when he's selling his Silent Night merchandise, he'll have a YouTube video which will start with him shredding some guitar solo, and then he'll talk to the audience and sell the stuff he's selling. He's got a coffee mug and T-shirts and things like that, but he hand makes guitars.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure where he lives. If he's close or far, he's been a little hasn't come out and said where he lives because I think he doesn't want people bugging him that much. But he pops up on Finding Freeman.
When I went to reach out for somebody for Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, I was so happy to find you. But I was actually also looking for him as well. I was wondering, do you think he would come on here and do this show?
He might. He's done a few radio shows before.
I mean, I would definitely treat him well, this is very tongue-in-cheek, I think you're having fun with this, so.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you go to, it's theericfreeman.com.
Okay.
One word, theericfreeman.com. And there's his site, and there's a contact button, and you can start from there. And if you have no luck, let me know, and I'll reach out to him for you.
Yeah, I would appreciate it. Do you mind if I add you on Facebook?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do that because, I got a lot of my interview guests on Facebook, and I'm always willing to promote stuff that they're doing. And in fact, I had somebody reach out to me this week and say, look, I got an album coming out. Do you mind if I come on? Or somebody else said they had an ebook coming out. Would you mind if I come on again? And I said, sure, because, I would love to have Eric Freeman come on, and maybe even encourage him to do more the conventions, because I mean, he'd be somebody I'd go meet at these conventions. I loved him you know who he put me in mind of?
Who's that?
He reminded me, especially from his look, but even the stuff he did with his eyebrows, is Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Because when at WrestleMania 1, when Piper is butting heads with Mr. T in the middle of the ring, you can kind of see that look in his face that Eric Freeman would have, when he looks at that gun and laughs, but yeah. But, I mean, we love Eric. Yes, we laugh at his performance, and I'm hoping he's able to laugh at it too, because we're really finding a lot of joy in him, and quite frankly, I'd pay to see him in a movie before I'd see a lot of these A-listers,
Yeah, I'd like to see him pop up in something, and I think it's taken all of us many years to come, to come to grips with this, but to just be okay with the fact that people, remember this movie and like this movie. And, to us, it was, at the time, we just felt, oh my God, we made a shitty movie and we should just bury it and forget about it and move on with our lives and our careers. But now to have it pop up years later and, like I said, have us finally embrace it and say, we were young and it was a job and we were having fun. So it is what it is. It was what it was.
Well, you know what? You say the Eric Freeman, that's all one word. Is it lowercase? Like, is just the T capital?
The T isn't even capital. It's just
okay.
The Eric Freeman.
.com? Okay. I'm going to look that up because I think I'll reach out to him and see if he'd like to come on. I think that would be great. Because
it's actually the THEE, the Eric Freeman.
Oh, okay.
And they've got a forum which I just signed up for.
Okay.
And I guess he'll answer questions.
Well.
And appearances it has listed here too. He was at Horror Hound Weekend in Ohio. So I think
wow.
He must have been there with what's the fellow's name who played the first guy? Was it Robert?
Well, I know the guy from the first film was there.
Yeah, I think Eric must have been there as well.
Oh wow, because I didn't see him listed. You see, I went to Horrorama in Toronto. A Canadian actress I had on here a couple times invited me as her guest, and it was the first time I've been out of New Brunswick. And I went as her guest, and I know that Lynn Griffin from Black Christmas and her husband Sean Sullivan from Wayne's World were at Horror Hound in Columbus, Ohio, and they live in Toronto, and they contacted Lisa Langlois, who I was the guest of, and wanted to know when I was leaving Toronto to come back here, and they met me. We all met at a restaurant, and we talked about Horror Hound, but I knew the guy from Silent Night, Deadly Night was going to be there. I had no idea Eric was going to be there.
Yeah, on their website, the Horror Hound Weekend website, there's Robert Brian Wilson from the first one, and right next to him, Eric Freeman. It says first ever convention.
Oh, wow. I did not see that.
Yeah.
And I've seen the poster, and they never had him listed. They had a lot of people from American Pie and whatnot. Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah.
I wonder if he enjoyed it.
I don't know. I'll have to reach out. We haven't talked in a bit. He actually sent me an email last week after the fires asking if we're okay.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Street Soldier was your other film, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about this, and what was it like going from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 to transition to this film?
Well, I had gotten into sound recording after Silent Night, after the directing career did not take off. So being an editor, I just went into more post-production and became a sound re-recording mixer, and a movie came in. It was called Silent Assassin, and it was with Philip Rhee and June Chong, And so it was a lot of great Taekwondo stuff in there. And June Chong and I became friends. And he was going to do his first movie without Phil Ree. They were called the Action Brothers.
Okay.
And we just started talking, and he gave me a script that he had and asked if I wanted to direct it. He had seen Silent Night too and still wanted me to direct something. So I went, well, all right. If you're asking, I'm directing. So that was fun. We didn't have much money. We had more money than we had had with Silent Night. And I think some of the money was, Korean underworld money. But at any rate, we had fun. It was a better movie, in my opinion, than Silent Night in that it was an entire movie. It was really well shot by my late, great, good friend, Dennis Peters.
Okay.
And it was fun. It was a good movie. A lot of fighting. We teamed up with a stunt school in the Valley, and we had all the students from the stunt school play gang members of the rival gang. And we had a week worth of training where our actors fought with the stunt people, and we ended up with some really cool choreography.
Okay.
And a lot of guns again, and another villain over the top villain that seems to be my specialty. And that's Jeff Rector, who has been in a bunch of movies. So yeah, that was fun. And that film, trying to think, did we have a theatrical release on that? No, that was a video only release. Curb Esquire Films, and the only copy of that movie I have is on a Laserdisc.
Oh wow!
I was looking for a 35 millimeter print of it to see if we could get a nice transfer like the one they did on Silent Night 2, and I could never find it. June Chong didn't have one. The distributor has long since closed their doors. So I would love to find a print of that because it's a nice looking movie and it deserved a better fate.
Sure. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, is that available on Blu-ray?
I've never seen it on Blu-ray. I've got, the anamorphic version, the nice letterbox version of it with the commentary that we did probably 10 years ago, I want to say.
Okay.
But I don't even know who owns it now. It used to be Anchor Bay, but I don't know. I should look that up to see if there is a Blu-ray of it. I'd be surprised.
Because I would definitely get that on Blu-ray, if it's available. And I don't even have the original, and I would get Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Well, you don't need the original, see?
Well, yeah, but the original doesn't have Eric Freeman, I mean, nothing against anybody in the original, but Eric Freeman is so cool in this movie. You get people that watch that movie just because he is so entertaining and so watchable.
Yes, I agree. Well, that's what I mean. You don't need to get the first one because most of the first one is in the second one. Plus, you get Eric. So
you get Eric.
Win-win.
Win-win, definitely. Now, you do a lot of editing, I noticed on your IMDb. And is that what you like doing best, is editing?
I think it's what I'm best at. I've tried a lot of careers out here. You tend to do that in Hollywood, and you end up working more if you can do more things. And editing and post-production in general, I've got that kind of, knack for organization and putting things together. And I mean, that was my favorite part of all the movies I directed was editing. I mean, the last thing I did was a short called The Whistler. I did that a couple of years ago, and I enjoyed directing it, but I really enjoyed editing it.
Okay.
Because of the things you can do in the editing room, and especially the tools that you have now on a computer and how you're able to manipulate footage. And I just always enjoyed that. I think more than the day-to-day being on the set that directing takes.
I hear from a lot of filmmakers. They say, like Kevin Smith, for example, he'll do a day's shooting and then he'll go and he'll sit up at night and just edit. And he says time just flies when he does it. He just enjoys doing it, you know?
Yeah, because you can see the result immediately, and you can make things better immediately, and that's what I enjoy about it. I still edit now, so it's the most fun I have. I edit out of my house. I have a avid media composer at the house since I retired from doing trailers in Hollywood. That started to become a grind. So I wanted to get out of that and get back to more personal things.
So what's coming up in the future for you? What kind of projects you have?
Well, I've been working for years on a musical.
Okay.
I write music. I have a little studio here, and since we've moved to Ventura out of Los Angeles, there's a really great theater community here, and we're putting together a version, just a short kind of workshop version of the musical, where we'll finally get to hear it performed by other people and start to be able to, cut it down and make it work a little better. And I mean, that's something that I'll enjoy. It's personal, it's hands-on, and I'll be able to use my skills editing too, because if we have some kind of video projections on the show, I'm going to go shoot those and cut those and incorporate those, and it'll just be a nice multimedia type of thing, and that excites me. And in the meantime, I cut commercials and promos for PBS, and that keeps me busy, and that's pretty much it.
Do you have a favorite musical?
Favorite musical was Rent.
Okay.
I saw Rent on Broadway with the original cast years ago, and I just thought, wow, this is exciting. It's vibrant. The Sound of Music is probably my favorite musical of all time.
Okay.
But that's a classic, and I put that up on the shelf. But contemporary-wise, I would have to say Rent. Hamilton's a great musical. I was fortunate enough to see that on Broadway as well. My wife and I would take trips to New York when new shows would come out so we could see them with the original cast. Spring Awakenings was another one. But yes, Rent has a special place in my heart.
Oh, fantastic. Now, we've talked a little bit about the conventions. Do you ever do those?
No.
You ever going to?
I don't know. I can see people wanting to talk to Eric and the actors who are in these movies, but being a behind the camera guy, I don't know. It's just not my scene.
Okay. Do you ever get approached to sign stuff, or do you not get recognized?
Well, I get, excuse me, I get letters and emails. Since we moved, I have not gotten letters. I used to get letters at our house. People would track me down and ask for, autographs, and sometimes I would do that. And occasionally when I went to go to a screening, people ask for autographs, and sure, I'll sign things. People will have a copy of Silent Night, and I'll sign that. But, I think you can tell by someone who spends most of their time by choice in a dark editing room is not necessarily someone who wants to be out there shaking hands and meeting people. I'm just kind of shy.
Okay, no, that's no problem. I just thought, mention your experiences. But you know what, I gotta say, it's been so wonderful having you come on here today, and I really appreciate you getting back to me, and coming on here and celebrating the 30th anniversary of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and the fact that it's got this new life now, and people are enjoying it. I'm really glad now there's a silver lining for you with it.
Well, that's a very good way to put it. And when I think 30 years, that just blows me away. How quickly time goes, and how things change. How something that was reviled back then has become not so reviled these days. And I'm glad that Eric is come out of the shadows and is enjoying his infamy and meeting people. And I truly hope that he does something, that he pops up in a movie somewhere.
Well, I'm going to reach out to him in the next day or so and see if he'll come on here. I'd love to have him on, and like I said, I'll treat him as well as I treated you, today. So, and he can even come on here and talk about his guitars. I'm open for that. You got any web pages or anything you want to promote, or charities that you're involved with you want to plug while you're on here?
Oh, well, that's nice. Well, our charity has always been the Hillsides Home for Children in Pasadena.
Okay.
Which is they are a pretty well funded charity, I will say at this point. With all the fires and things, I would ask your listeners to look towards people in California and these communities that have been affected by these wildfires, because we had young lady staying with us the last couple of weeks who's a friend of my wife's, who her whole family lost their house, just burned to the ground.
Oh, it's sad.
So, just imagine that. You go back to your house and it's gone, and the next thing you know, you're at, the drugstore buying a toothbrush because you don't have one. And just the Red Cross has done some great stuff, and Salvation Army has done some great stuff here in town. So that's where I would look towards contributing.
Absolutely, yes.
Website-wise, if anybody wants to see the trailers I've cut and the films I've made, go to leeharry.com.
Okay.
One word, leeharry.com. I was lucky enough to get that web address before somebody swiped it.
Fantastic. Well, you know what, Lee? Thank you so much for coming on here. Have you ever been out this way before? I'm from this little spot in Canada, in New Brunswick. I'm from Fredericton, and I'm 4 hours ahead of you. But have you ever been out this way before?
No, I was visited Montreal when I was a boy, and I've been to Maine, which is about as close to you, I think, as I've ever been. But no, never been to New Brunswick, and would like to have more time to travel now. And that would be, if I come up that way, I will look you up.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe we can even have you right here in the studio too,
There you go. I'd be happy to.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome. I'll connect with you on Facebook, and we'll stay in touch. And like I said, it may be a little while before this gets out, but like I said, it will come. So I just ask for your patience.
Oh, I'm take your time.
Okay,
I'll be here.
Well,
I appreciate you reaching out, Greg. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, you know what? We're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. And directed by Lee Harry. So great to have you on here, and I was wondering if before you go, if you would do a plug for my show.
Oh, absolutely. What would you like me to say?
Just state your name and that you're the director of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada. Can you get all that?
Yeah, I'm jotting that down. Python's Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
New Brunswick, Canada.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try this here.
Okay.
Hi, this is Lee Harry, director of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert. All right, let me start that again.
Okay.
Hi, this is Lee Harry, director of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, and I'm speaking to Greg Gilbert of Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
Thank you so much, Lee. It's been an honor and pleasure talking with you today, and I'm really glad that this film has brought a silver lining to you, and it's brought more positivity to you compared to when you shot it.
Yes, well, I agree with you, and thank you for thinking about us. And can't believe it's 30 years.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, and you have yourself a wonderful day, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you, Greg. Take care.
Bye-bye.